According to David Fideler, author of Jesus Christ, Son of God, every planet in the sky was given a numerical value. Mars is number 5, for example. The Moon is 9. Saturn is 3. Earth is 10. Their numbers are then squared into what is known as a magical square. The numbers 1 through however many squares there are in the square are then placed into the square in such a way that all rows equal the same numerical value when added up, and all columns equal that same value too, and the two diagonals. When one row, column, or diagonal is added up, that number represents the intelligence of that planet, whatever that means. Don't ask me. And if you add all of the numbers in all of the squares up, you end up with the number value of the spirit of that planet. Don't let this fry your brain, because it's not really something that makes much sense to us today, but to them it was something magical. So the sun's number is 6. When squared, 6 by 6 equals 36. So the numbers 1 through 36 are inserted into the magical square of the sun. Now, in the rows, columns, and diagonals, all must equal the same number. That number is 111. So if there are 6 rows times 111, you end up with 666, the spirit of the sun. The sun's not something to be afraid of, is it? After all, Jesus' name itself comes out to 888, and he represented the sun as well. But everybody's been so spooked by the idea of some hideous baby being born with a wicked 3-digit birthmark as a devil child ever since that whole thing. You could barely break through the bullshit and see what's exactly written. If you look at the language carefully, they'll try to set up a statue, an abomination that causes desolation, and make everybody worship it. A civilization. At the same time, in Rome, there was another religious movement involving a solar deity named Mithras. Oddly enough, Mithras was said to have been born by a virgin human mother and a divine God as father. Born on the 25th of December, died for the sins of mankind around Easter time. What a coincidence! I mean, you gotta wonder if Jesus and Mithras ever got together and compared notes. Oh, I should also mention Mithras was a Persian deity, and this was believed about him nearly 500 years before Christ was thought of. Now, not really convenient for the literalist fundies, is it? No matter, there is a whole plan in Rome to unite all the world under one single universal religion. One right religion. And they tried the idea with many different deities, Mithras being one of them. It's even said that if Christianity hadn't caught on, the world would have become a Mithraic one under the Mithraic Catholic Church. Oh, by the way, this makes the idea of a state-sanctioned religion a bad idea. Even if you try to do it with Christ, it doesn't matter. Government doesn't need to force religion. Thank you very much. Well, we know that Rome went on to fail at trying to push Mithraism onto the people. Forcing unity was very difficult. It was a strong empire, but rebellion and anger against them was also very strong. And there was more unity against them under Christ than there was amongst them in a way that Rome would have approved. So finally it came to pass that an emperor named Constantine, a couple centuries later, had the idea: convert to Christianity, publicly. Not for real. If you can't beat them, steal their deity. They failed with Mithras, but they succeeded with Jesus. Christians everywhere must have thought it a wonderful thing to have the emperor convert to their religion. They had no idea that their God was about to go from being the persecuted to the worst persecuting majority ever. Jesus was hijacked. Remember how that stone was supposed to crash into the statue and crumble it? Well, it's like in dodgeball, where if you instead catch the ball, you're not out. The statue caught the rock, carved it into what it wanted it to be, and it's been throwing it at the rest of us for nearly 2,000 years. Ain't that a bitch? We see one of the most surprising and controversial things about Jesus when he enters into the home of Mary and Martha. Martha's doing all this work and cleaning and laboring for all of the guests, and Mary's just sitting there, not being productive. Instead of getting on to Mary for being lazy, he suggests that she in fact chose the better way. He takes her side. Not working is the better way. Not worrying day and night about details that aren't important, or as Ecclesiastes calls it, a chasing after the wind. You never hear that from a Christian with Christian values, do you? No, you always hear that idle hands are the devil's workshop, and even in later epistles, they make the same mistake. In 2 Thessalonians, you hear the admonishment: he who does not work, neither shall he eat. Does this sound like the same Jesus to you? Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body or what you will wear. Life is more important than food, and the body more important than clothes. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Or are you not much more valuable than they? Who of you can, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? And why do you worry about clothes? You see how the lilies of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. That is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow thrown in the fire. Would he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of his own. So seek first the kingdom without a king. The earth, where you're not working, where you're not addicted to such civilized slavery. Consider the lilies of the field, he says, but God helps those who help themselves, Christians tell you. Whereas if they'd read the Bible a little bit more closely, they'd realize what Jesus really means is that God helps those that consider the lilies of the fields, not those who trample them to help themselves. Today's Christians stumble yet again.
Look around, believe in what you see. Kingdom is at hand, promised land is at your feet. Cannon will become when we aspire to be. If heaven's here on earth, I believe this could be heaven. Temple, the